Let's go into player ratings, and I'm sure this is going to be a good one today. Starting off with Big Vic, 7s all round from us. He made a big save, didn't he, from Mohamed Kudus, which was like a bit of a sign for things to come with the goal that he did score. I don't think he could have done much with the goal that we conceded, and apart from that, he was barely untested.
Yeah, I think he gets an extra point because he got a cap in the second half, and I think that was the right decision because actually just before that moment, you could see it. It was right in his eyes, and there was the moment where they had a shot clear off the line. I actually think he kind of flapped it a bit because I'm assuming it must have been because of someone's in his eyes because the cross came in. I think we cut it out, and then it kind of looped up, and I was like, "Is he going to catch this?" And he just like completely misses it. I think he just must have lost the start of the ball in the sun because he just didn't know where the ball was, and it led to West Ham putting the ball across the face of goal and ended up being cleared off the line by a doggy, thankfully. So we got a cap on, and those issues stopped. So fair play to Vicario.
Pedro Porro, 7s all round for Pedro. And yeah, I think he had a fairly good game. I mean, he was threatening massively to score in that first half. That chance where he took that volley where it was like, he was really high up in the air and just banged it. And I thought it was going in, but it just went just over the bar. He had a couple of shots yesterday, which I thought he might have scored from one of them. But look, defensively, I thought for the most part, he was actually pretty good, but he did come under pressure a little bit. He's been accused of not being on Mohamed Kudus at the back post. He was on the line and blocking Souček as well. So, yeah, it's a hard one to judge, but I think Porro was pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, I think on the ball, obviously, we know what he brings, and he was so brilliant yesterday. Yet again, 2 key passes, obviously 2 shots on target.
Bring up the phone.
Forced Areola into that save in the first. It was a brilliant save from Areola from Porro as well. But I did think for the goal, I don't think at the moment where the cross comes in, it's his fault because I think he has Souček. But I do think in the build-up to it, there's a long ball from Todibo towards Kudus. And Porro's favourite for the ball, but he just allows himself to get bullied a bit from Mohamed Kudus. And I think he did struggle a bit to deal with Kudus in that first half. But
everyone did, didn't they?
Yeah, true. But I think I don't think the goal was his fault. Maybe the chance which Vicario saved he could have done better with. But I think the goal actually he had Souček. But after that, he was absolutely fantastic and unlucky not to be on the score sheet. Created a few chances as well, so I think he actually had a really strong showing in the end and another good game from Porro. Yeah,
2 interceptions, 2 tackles, 2 key passes, 1 shot on target, 2 off target, and 1 shot blocked. And 3 out of his 7 duels won, 1 out of his 1 aerial duels. I was happy with Pedro yesterday. Let's move on. Who do we have next? Cuti Romero. Again, I thought Romero put in a great display. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. I thought he was pretty dominant in that back line. He batted away everything that came into his path, to be honest. I felt like in the second half he was hardly tested, to be honest. And I was really liking his on-the-ball ability as well yesterday. So good display from Romero.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. His passing was just phenomenal yet again. I thought he completely dominated Antonio, to be honest. I think Antonio had pretty much nothing, and considering what a physical threat he can be, it's not that easy to do, and I thought he dealt with him very, very comfortably. I think his passing in between the lines yet again is just so sensational, and he put a brilliant ball over the top to Sonny in that first half, right at the end of the first half, and Sonny should have been on should have probably found someone on the end of it. So fantastic play from Romero. I thought he was slightly better of the 2 centre backs, so I gave him an 8. I thought he was just fantastic.
Yeah, and his stats read expected assist actually 0.13, 2 clearances, 4 tackles. 1 out of his 1 cross is accurate, 4 out of his 9 long balls accurate, 4 out of 5 ground duels, 4 out of 4 aerial duels as well, which was a heavily dominant display from Cuti Romero, which we move on to Mickey van der Ven, and Mickey was 7s all round. I did feel like he struggled a little bit in the first half with the goal that we conceded and a few chances that West Ham were making, but I think he grew into the game, made a few really important challenges as well, and I think he was just part of a defence that were really untested really in the second half.
Yeah, I felt Bowen was really getting the better of him, I felt, at times in that first half when he was coming into wide areas. I thought he struggled to deal with him. Him and the doggy didn't really deal with that right. And I also thought there was one moment in the second half where he came over to kind of put a challenge in. He took a wild swipe, and I think I think it was Kudus just gets ahead of him, and that could have been a really bad, big opportunity. But thankfully we got our defence back in place. But I think by and large he was pretty solid. I think by and large they couldn't really get past him. Obviously Antonio had nothing, and I thought Bowen was very, very quiet in the second half, so he has to be credited for that. So I thought I gave him a 7.
And his stats read 4 clearances, 2 block shots, 1 interception, 2 tackles, 2 out of his 4 aerial duels, long balls were accurate, 91% passing accuracy, 3 out of 7 ground duels, 1 as well. So didn't win an aerial duel though, 0 out of 3. But yeah, I was pretty happy with Mickey, apart from a few little mishaps in the first half. Next up, we're going to talk about Destiny Udogie. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. Poor defending, to be honest, from the goal that we did concede. I thought that Bowen kind of got the better of him in a one-on-one situation, which carries on the kind of theme from the Brighton game, which is he needs to get better at. But I thought after that, he just went from strength to strength in the game. He was contributing to our attack, got a brilliant assist for Basuma's goal as well. So I thought Udogie in the second half was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think he really recovered from what was, I wouldn't say a poor first half, but definitely a first half where defensive got caught out and Bowen was giving him all sorts of trouble. But, another day he could have had an assist in that first half as well. Brilliant ball to who probably should have put it away. So I think offensively was still, providing a threat, but obviously defensively, Bowen for those 2 chances really got the better of him, and he's got to be wary of that because, as you say, Minte did the same thing. So not the best couple of weeks defensively for a Destiny Udogie, but second half, brilliant assist. I thought so much composure. So much composure to pick up Zuma for that moment, and I thought defensively again, Bowen barely had anything. So fair play to him. Yeah,
and if you look at that heat map, it shows you that he was on the outside more than he was actually on the inside in terms of inverting as a fullback. Which was good to see. He got an assist on the day, 0.51 for the expected assists, 1 clearance off the line as well, which we didn't talk about, 1 block shot, 1 interception, 2 tackles, 3 key passes on the day for Destiny, which is big numbers. 2 out of his 3 crosses were accurate, 1 out of his 1 long ball, 1 big chance created, 5 out of his 11 ground duels, and 1 out of his 2 aerial duels, 1 as well. So a dominant display from Destiny Udogie out on their left-hand side.
Yeah, and it wasn't a penalty for the handball. And I saw Nicky after the game, Nicky Hawkins, saying he thought it was a penalty.
Really?
Yeah, I was watching his reaction.
He must have been just salty at the end of the game.
Yeah, he must have, because it was just not a penalty. He has his hand like here. It's literally as tucked in as it could be, and it would have hit his chest if it didn't hit his hand. So it's not a penalty.
I said on the watch long, if this is given a penalty, it's the biggest disgrace in football.
Yeah,
it was never a penalty. Bissouma next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him an 9, and this was, I reckon, this could have been his best Spurs shirt.
Really?
I reckon it was that good. I mean, obviously he had very good games in the first 10 games of last year, but I think maybe not his best in the Spurs shirt, but definitely back to those levels that he showed in the first 10 games of the season. I thought he was brilliant. The amount of times he was winning the ball back, there was 1 key moment in our own box where he won the ball back, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, and obviously got on the score sheet as well, which makes it 2 goals for him this season. So I think now Bissouma's had that performance, I think it's better than any display that Bentancur's put in this season, so he's got the shirt.
Yeah, I probably agree with that, although Bentancur's played some really strong performances, but Bissouma, when Bissouma's at his best, when he's playing at this level, he's one of the best DMs in the league, and he's absolutely phenomenal. And it's all about consistency with Bissouma, and I think he's showing that level of consistency so far this season. I think I don't think he's had a bad game. I thought this one was probably the best of the lot, and he's starting to get on the score sheet. I said when we signed him, he's a player I could see probably getting into a bit more goal-scoring positions and making a bit more of an effect in the final third. He could have had an assist as well because he played a nice pass to Son, who had that shot which went just wide. So he's getting a bit more involved when he can in the final third, when he feels he can feels the moment to get involved, but he's getting more disciplined, and that's very, very important for a player like him, because if he can add that to his game, he's got a very high ceiling, and I thought he was absolutely phenomenal yesterday.
Yeah, and if we bring up his stats, just look at that heat map. He was absolutely everywhere on that pitch yesterday. Yves Bissouma, 1 goal, 60 touches, 93% pass accuracy, 1 key pass as well, a shot on target, 7 of his 12 ground duels, 1, 4 clearances and 5 tackles as well. So a monstrous display from Yves Bissouma, affecting things at both ends of the pitch. So brilliant there from Yves Bissouma. Next up, we're going to talk about James Maddison, 7s all round for Madders. Did only last 45 minutes, who got taken off at half time. And I thought Maddison was playing well, to be honest, in the first half. I thought he was he was dropping deep a little bit and knitting the play together. He was working really well with Kulusevski, like he always does. Driving run for that brilliant assist for Decky as well. So I was actually really surprised he got taken off at half time, but obviously ended up to be the right decision.
Yeah, I think, I don't think it should be. I saw Maddison, when he'd been taken off, he looked a bit unhappy about it, which I can understand because he was playing well. I don't think it's Maddison did anything wrong per se. I just think what the game required was that bit more protection, and obviously Sarr was the player to do that. So I don't think Maddison should take this like as a personal slight, or I don't think this is going to be him out of the team now or anything like that. I still think he probably starts with Decky next game, but I think I thought first half, he had 5 chances created, which is more than anyone else on the pitch throughout the whole game, let alone just the first half. So that shows what he was providing. But unfortunately, it was down that side where he is on the left-hand side-ish, where we were struggling to contain West Ham a lot, and they were getting a lot of joy. And just bringing Pape, bring him a bit deeper, bring that running energy and that protection, just allowed us a bit more of a solid base to go on and win the game. So Ange did really well to make the sub. It was a sub that no one saw coming, and I understand why Maddison will be a bit frustrated about it, but it was the right decision. And I think if Maddison keeps playing like that, he got an assist as well in that first half. I don't think he's going to have any problems, but yeah, it's just a shame for him he had to be taken off. But sometimes it's not about whether you're playing well, it's about what the game needs, and that was what was about yesterday. Yeah,
and here's his stats. I mean, he made 5 key passes in the game, which is unbelievable for James Maddison. Can you bring up the stats? 5 key passes for James Maddison. 2 out of his 7 crosses were accurate. 5 out of 2 ground duels, 1 dribble attempts, 1 out of 3, and he made 1 interception as well. So, and he drew 1 foul as well. So I thought Maddison was playing really well first half.
I guess one criticism, which I think a few of the commenters are probably right with saying, is his corners were pretty bad.
Oh, they were dreadful.
Yeah, so that's one thing you can probably rightly criticise.
We're getting so frustrated here in the studio during the watch along these corners. We kept getting corner after corner after corner after corner. We did nothing with any of them.
Yeah, we kept overhitting them and either going to Areola or just going over everyone's head, and it was just not great, not good enough.
And also, as soon as Maddison went off and Son took the first corner in the second half, that corner was actually a really good ball in, and it took for like 13 corners to get a good delivery in, which was madness. Let's move on to Decky. Sim gives him a 9. I gave him a big fat 10. I thought he was unplayable yesterday, Dejan Kulusevski. In the first half, he started off, he drew 2 fouls really early on, which was a sign of things to come. West Ham found it really hard to deal with him. I called it a ball retention. I called him a ball retention wizard yesterday. They just could not handle him. They could not get the ball off him. He's too strong and even too quick in his mind for any of those West Ham players. He drove us up the pitch. He got his goal as well, which is what I've said about Decky as well. He's so good on the ball, but he needs to be adding those goal contributions a bit more regularly than he does, because he's got that quality to do so. And now 2 goals in his last 3 games. He is starting to do that. But I was just so impressed with Decky yesterday.
Yeah, he's carrying on what has been a phenomenal season for him, and he seems to be getting better and better. I think that goal is so important that he scored as well, because just before half-time, the whole stadium was a bit tetchy, there was a bit of tense atmosphere around the place. We knew that West Ham, on their day can be a good defensive team. We just needed that little bit of magic to break the deadlock, and that's exactly what he provided. Yeah, a bit of luck because Areola gets a big hand to it, but it's still a good strike. He still does really well to get into position to get the shot on goal. But it's not just that; it's just his all-round game is just so brilliant to watch, isn't it? And his ability to retain the ball in tight spaces, his ability off the ball to get close to the opposition and put in challenges and make tackles. As you see on his stats, 8 of his he competed for 16 ground duels, winning 8 of them. So it's the volume of ground duels he competes for. It's usually it's that similar number every game, and that's what he's capable of. He gets himself about the pitch, and I think that's why, this is the reason why Ange trusts him now in central midfield. It's not necessarily what he's doing on the ball, which is he's doing great things, but off the ball, he also mucks in for the team. He also so strong. He also competes for so many duels, 3 tackles as well. You know, these are the fundamentals that allows him, first of all, to fit right into the pressing structure, but allows Ange to trust him in the central midfield to do those defensive duties. And when you marry that with the obvious unbelievable quality he's got on the ball with his press resistance and his ability with his left foot to pick out passes and get and score goals, I mean, this is a phenomenal midfielder now we're talking about, I feel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And he is just going from strength to strength to strength. And I reckon come the end of the season, I think the rest of the Premier League's fans are going to start to realise how good Dejan Kulusevski actually is, because he's actually been a bit of a figure of fun for opposition fans, saying how bad he is and stuff like that, which I've never believed he's a bad player. I've always believed he's been playing in the wrong position, and I think it's proving it this season. 2 key passes for him, 2 shots blocked, 1 on target, 1 off target, 8 of his 16 ground duels won, drew 3 fouls on the day and tackled 3 times as well. Monstrous display from Dejan Kulusevski. Next up is Brennan Johnson, 7s all round for Brennan. And yeah, it wasn't his best display, to be honest. He had the chance to break a record, didn't he? It would have been 8 goals in 8 for club and country, but it would have been a record for Spurs, which would have been 7 goals in his last 7 games, 7 consecutive games. Unfortunately, he couldn't do that. He did have the chance to do that. I mean, he took a number of shots throughout the game. I think he had 4 or 5 shots, and but I just didn't feel like he looked as threatening as maybe as our other attacking players.
Probably not. I think Son and Solanke probably were providing a bit more for the team, but you just see that early shot he had from the angle. That was actually not even far away. It was like a volley from like the tightest angle. Would have been one of the best goals of the season if he scored it. And the confidence just to take it on, you can see it's flowing through him. Obviously, he had a couple of chances. Well, he had that header from an Udogie cross, which I think they gave a corner for, so I'm sure that must have been deflected off a defender. But you know, he'll be a bit disappointed he couldn't turn that home. And obviously, he had a chance when Solanke slips him through and forced a good save out of Areola as well. That would have been a good finish as well. So he was still threatening. He was still getting in those chances. Unfortunately, couldn't put it away. And then I think Ange, actually, after the game, said he felt like it was his best performance of the season because of the defensive work he put in, helping out Porro in that second half. And I think he did do that a lot. So credit to him for putting in the hard yards. And I still think he was threatening. So really, really good.
In his stats, 1 shot off target, 3 shot off targets, 1 block shot, 0 dribble attempt, 0 successful dribbles out of attempts, though 1 big chance missed, 2 key passes, 3 out of his 10 ground duels, 1, 2 out of his 2 aerial duels, and he drew 2 fouls as well. So good underrated display from Brennan Johnson. Let's move on to big Dom Solanke. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. And without providing goal contribution in a game where we scored 4 goals, which you probably expect better from Dom in that aspect, I think from every other aspect he was unbelievable, even unplayable at times. The contribution that he had to the first goal, I think, is so underrated. The way he wins the ball back and quickly just passes it to James Maddison, where James Maddison just had acres of space to run into. And in the second half, the way he was just dropping deep, winning the ball back, his dribbling ability. I mean, every time he had the ball and you thought he had no right to take it past his player, that's it, see you later, I'm gone. I just love that from Dom Solanke, and he was an important factor for the way we were just so dominant in that second half. I mean, he's built like an ox, this guy. It's really hard to get the ball off him, and I just didn't know that about him before he came to Spurs.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's really added a different dimension to this attack, and he's allowed Tottenham to get up the pitch and hold the ball up, and he's so strong. He backs into defenders and he keeps the ball for you, and his little flicks are brilliant. I thought his dribbling was absolutely fantastic yesterday. I thought his ability to retain the ball in tight spaces and use his quick feet is a very underrated skill of his, and I thought absolutely fantastic from Dom Solanke to pull that off, especially in the second half. I thought we saw a lot of it. First half, obviously, for the goal was a brilliant piece of play from him as well. I felt like a couple of moments he'll be a bit annoyed with himself with. There was a couple of moments he could have slipped in Sonny, and he decided to just delay the ball for one reason or another, and I don't know why he ended up dawdling on it. I don't know if he just didn't see Son or he felt like he can go by himself. And also, I think it was one of those displays which I don't think it's a bad thing per se, but he actually wasn't that involved in the game because I think he must have, I think, one of the least passes on the pitch or least touches. But it's nothing to be worried about because I think, Haaland has those games, doesn't he, where he's just not as involved, and he has those games where he has few touches, but he doesn't need so many touches because what he provides for the team is something different. I think Solanke can do that role for us as well. He draws a lot of attention himself when he drops deeper, allows a lot of space for a lot of the other attackers, and it's no surprise for me that as soon as Solanke's come on the pitch, we've seen a lot better wingers as well. The wingers have really upped their game, and also the attacking midfielders. So I think he's doing such a great role for the team. Unfortunately, he didn't get many goal-scoring positions yesterday, but look, that'll come. But I thought yesterday he did an unbelievable job for the team, and he had a really strong showing. Yeah,
so he only had one shot yesterday, which was off target. 2 out of his 7 dribble attempts were successful. Can you bring up the stats on the screen? 2 out of his 7 dribble attempts were successful. 1 key pass on the day. 4 out of his 13 ground duels won. 1 out of his 2 aerial duels won. And he made 2 tackles as well and 1 clearance. So
I think yesterday was kind of the kind of game where stats don't really tell the story of how well he did.
I agree. And the last of the starting 11 is our captain, Son Heung-min. 9s all round for Sonny, and I thought Sonny was brilliant yesterday. Even in the first half, he was getting in positions, taking shots on the lovely curling effort that kind of went round everyone and just went round the post. And when he's getting in those positions, you just know Son is just so dangerous, and he's going to end up with something on the day. And I thought he was a bit relentless out on that left-hand side. He was coming inside. He was doing great work on the outside as well. And obviously, great work from the outside culminated in Bissouma's goal, which was a lovely pass to a doggy, and a doggy obviously played it back to Bissouma when Bissouma did the rest. But he had his hand in 3 goals that we scored yesterday. The one for the own goal, it was his shot that forced the own goal, and obviously his great work from Pape Matasar's through ball, where he absolutely just tore Todibo a new one, and he smashed it into the bottom corner of the net. So brilliant display from Sonny.
Yeah, I think he was looking back to his best and he was looking as fresh as ever, because I think the 2-week break has really done him good. Because you looked at him yesterday, he was looking so sharp. He was looking like he was taking people on. He was looking extremely effective in the final third as well. Some of his passes were absolutely to die for. The outside of the boot pass for a dog, he was absolutely brilliantly weighted and created the opportunity for us to get the goal. Brilliant outside the boot pass again out wide to Kulusevski for the second goal, for the third goal as well. Brilliant work to tie Todibo in an absolute knot for the 4th goal. The way he just kept Todibo guessing. Todibo didn't know what way he was going to go, and because Son is so 2-footed, he can go either way and be just as effective. And I thought he was absolutely fantastic. But I just thought in general he looked so much sharper. He looked so much more on it yesterday. And when he's in that kind of mood, he's so hard to stop. And I thought West Ham just couldn't deal with him when he's in that transitional threat, like he was in the second half. I think West Ham just couldn't live with giving him all that space, and he knows that he's a player who knows what to do with space. But I even thought in the first half he was unlucky on a couple of occasions not to get a goal contribution with a shot which cold past the post from the Sonny zone, as you call it, on that left-hand side of the penalty area, and also right at the end of the half where he gets beyond the West Ham back line, has a cutback, and no one was there to tap home the empty net. So I thought he could have had more goal contributions if it wasn't for probably his teammates. But I thought and also hit the post, which to be honest, watching back, he should have scored that, because Areola had given up. All he had to do was roll it into the goal and hit the inside of the post. But so great to have him back, and he looks like he's refreshed after this break. Yeah,
and what we were saying about Sonny is we need to get Sonny taking more shots on goal, and we definitely got that yesterday. It was 2 shots on target, 2 off target. Can you bring the stats up on screen? 2 on target, 2 off target, 1 shot blocked, and 1 time he hit the woodwork. 1 big missed chance, 2 key passes on the day as well. So yeah, a really dominant display from Sonny, and he gets a goal, and could have had an assist as well well, he could have had a few assists yesterday, let's be real, if we put the ball in the back of the net. So big up to Heung-min Son. Let's move over to the substitutes. Let's go to Pape Matasar. 8s all round from Pape, and he just gave us exactly what we needed in that second half. He gave us more legs in the middle of the field. He was tirelessly running for the team, and he showed quality on the ball as well, which we've criticised him for in the past. That pass for Sonny's goal was unbelievable.
Yeah, defence splitting pass and just allowed Spurs to wrap up the game. I thought he made such a big difference when he came on. Just his ability to get around the pitch, his ability to win duels, and all of a sudden, when West Ham were getting a bit of joy in the centre, you just had Pape coming in and making sure he's winning the ball back. And that's exactly what he did for the fourth goal. Not only did he play a brilliant defence splitting pass, but he won the ball back and got Spurs started on that attack through his own ability off the ball. So I thought it was a brilliant change from Ange. I thought he came on and, as you say, on and off the ball was fantastic, really provided for the team. And it just made sure that West Ham were keeping him quiet for that second half. And I thought he did a brilliant job.
Yeah. And stats read 1 assist on the day, 45 minutes played, 1 key pass. Can you bring it up? 1 key pass, was fouled twice, and 1 clearance, 1 block shot, 2 tackles as well. So I think, and as well, plays into a narrative is what we've been saying, that Pape is really growing into this season now.
To 100% passing accuracy. Didn't misplace a pass.
Unbelievable. And what's that? 3 goal contributions this season? Maybe even 4. Yeah. No, it's 4 because he got an assist at Man United as well.
Got assist at Man United,
2 goals in the Europa League, yeah. and an assist here. So
Keep
2 assists, Pape. 2 assists in his last 3 Premier League games. Unbelievable from Pape. Let's finish off talking about Big Ange Postecoglou. 9s all round for Big Ange, and I thought he managed this game to perfection. You know, he came under a lot of criticism at Brighton for the way he managed that game, and he's responded to those critics. Playing this game to perfection, to be honest. I thought we were on top in the first half. We were definitely on top in the first half, but he saw what others didn't see, and that was that we needed a lot more legs in that midfield. He took James Maddison off, who was having a fairly good game, and he brought Sarr on, and I really reckon that was the change to really swing that game properly in our way, and it really did change the momentum. We swiped them away, we blew them away in the opening stages of that second half, and what can I say? He managed the game to absolute perfection.
Yeah, I think he's really getting this team purring at the moment with the amount of goals we're scoring and taking these teams to the sword. And yeah, I think he managed the game amazingly yesterday, because the way he was able to change things up at halftime, even though a lot of people probably wouldn't have changed it or wouldn't have brought Maddison off. I thought it was a fantastic decision to change Maddison and bring Pape on, and he saw something a lot of people didn't see in terms of what we needed in that midfield and to go and win the game, what was required. And I think he did that to perfection, and fair play to him, because last game against Brighton, he was criticised for not changing it early, and this time not only did he change it early, it was a proactive change. It was a change ahead of what other people were seeing, even though in a moment where we had momentum going to half time, he still changed it. So fair play to him. Well done to Ange. I thought he managed the game brilliant. I thought we played brilliant football as well, which his coaching has brought. So fantastic from Ange.